From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. First, the headlines. Biden calls deaths of migrants inside tractor trailer in Texas horrifying. Arizona's first Muslim judge takes the bench. COVID-19 cases rising in 110 countries as pandemic not yet over, WHO chief warns. UAE pledges humanitarian relief to Quake victims in Afghanistan. Russian forces withdraw from Ukraine's Snake Island. Ketanji Jackson becomes first black woman Supreme Court justice. Our top story tonight. On Tuesday, U.S. President Joe Biden described the deaths of 50 migrants who were found inside a tractor trailer in San Antonio, Texas, as horrifying and heartbreaking. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador said 22 Mexicans were among the dead, as well as 7 migrants from Guatemala and 2 from Honduras. The nationalities of the 19 others have yet to be identified. Initial reports indicate the tragedy was caused by smugglers or human traffickers. Biden said it underscores the need to go after the multi-billion-dollar criminal smuggling industry preying on migrants. Police say temperatures in south-central Texas hit 103 degrees on Monday when the bodies were discovered. An in-depth analysis segment is coming up later tonight in our news, so please keep watching Muslim News. Chief Justice John Roberts administered the constitutional oath to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson this afternoon. Justice Jackson, therefore, becomes the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. She will replace Justice Breyer, who is stepping down at the conclusion of the court's current term. The first Muslim judge in the history of Arizona was sworn in Monday at the Downtown Justice Center in Phoenix. Layla Ikram was sworn in as the judge pro tempore by Judge Enrique Medina Ochoa, Justice of Peace for Downtown Justice Center Precinct. Ochoa sponsored Ikram for the position. Ikram was the first judge in the state's history to wear hijab on the bench and the first to swear the oath of office on a Quran. The North Carolina native was born to immigrant parents from the Middle East. She is a graduate of the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University. A judge pro temp fills in on matters when full-time judges cannot. It can be a stepping stone to becoming a permanent judge. Legal analyst Norm Eisen said that in light of recent testimony before the January 6 committee, former President Donald Trump could face legal action for the role in the violence that took place that day. Defense attorney Caroline Pelosi said that there's now a plethora of potential criminal charges at play. Pelosi said that it's the first time she can see a clear through line from seditious conspiracy of the violence that took place on January 6 and actually Donald Trump. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former top White House aide, testified Tuesday on the 6th day of hearings in the House probe of the U.S. Capitol attack. Hutchinson said Trump and some of his top lieutenants were aware of the possibility of violence ahead of the attack. A former Muscatine County jail administrator was fired over his anti-Muslim writings and is now suing the county. Dean Naylor alleges that he is the victim of discrimination in a federal lawsuit he filed against Muscatine County. Naylor alleges when the county fired him 2 years ago for his published comments about gays and Muslims, it violated his First Amendment rights. He claims his firing violated his freedom of religious expression, free speech, and freedom of the press, since he used social media to publish his beliefs. He's suing the county for employment discrimination and deprivation of his civil rights. The county is yet to file a response to the lawsuit. A 3-part documentary series, The Great Muslim American Road Trip, follows a millennial Muslim American couple on a cross-country journey alongside historic Route 66. The couple explores Islam's deep roots in America. Rapper Mona Haider and her husband Sebastian Robbins makes more than a dozen stops between Chicago and Los Angeles. They meet with authors, entrepreneurs, medical students, performers, and others to better understand the Muslim experience in the United States. Netflix, The Umbrella Academy Season 3, which just premiered on social media, has been accused of religious harassment. The controversy stems from one of the characters in the series writing the word Allah, the name of God in Islam, on the ground in a scene, according to tweets. Some Twitter users are calling for boycotting or condemning the series over the scene, which they say includes symbols of other religions as well. Netflix has not commented on the scene in question. Relief and rescue efforts are at full throttle in Afghanistan after an earthquake destroyed the eastern border region over a week ago. The United Arab Emirates announced it would send humanitarian aid as 3 airplanes carrying aid from the UAE landed in the Afghan region of Host Tuesday. The earthquake left over 1,000 people dead and 1,600 others wounded, according to Taliban officials. Hundreds of houses have been destroyed in the Barmal, Gyan, and Sapera districts of Paktika, said Abdul Wahid Royan, a senior Taliban official. So far, the country has received humanitarian aid from Pakistan, Qatar, Iran, and India. COVID-19 cases are rising globally. Details after the break. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Sound Vision has a summer plan for your kids. Keep them busy and having fun. With creative teaching methods, songs, stories, art projects, and more. Amazing teachers and role models. Lessons that build love for Allah. Positive identity as a Muslim. Summer fun has just begun. Learn about animals in the Quran. Arabic vocabulary, beautiful names of Allah, science in the Quran, visit distant Muslim lands, learn fun facts about the country, the people, and how to cook special dishes, all from the safety and convenience of your home. Visit academy.adamsworld.org for more details. Hurry, classes start on July 4th.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Mr. Speaker, if I decide to wear a turban, or you decide to wear a cross, or he decides to wear a kippah or a skull cap, or she decides to wear a hijab or a burqa, does that mean that it is open season for right honourable members of this House to make derogatory and divisive remarks about our appearance? For those of us who from a young age have had to endure and face up to being called names such as Towelhead or Taliban, or coming from Bongo land, we can appreciate full well the hurt and pain felt by already vulnerable Muslim women when they are described as looking like bank robbers and letterboxes. So rather than hide behind sham and whitewash investigations, when will the Prime Minister finally apologise for his derogatory and racist remarks? racist remarks, Mr. Speaker, which have led to a spike in hate crime. And given the increasing prevalence of such incidents within his party, when will the Prime Minister finally order an inquiry into Islamophobia within the Conservative Party, something which he and his Chancellor promised on national television?
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. COVID-19 cases have been reported in 110 countries as global infections increase by 20% and deaths surge, the UN Health Authority chief said Wednesday. World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said that the pandemic is changing, and though there have been progress, it is not over. He said it's becoming harder to keep track of Omicron and analyze future emerging variants. Tedros said that the WHO had called on all countries to vaccinate at least 70% of their populations by mid-year. As of June 28, the agency reported more than 542 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, including almost 6.4 million deaths. Ghebreyesus said that almost 12 billion vaccines have been distributed worldwide in 18 months. On Tuesday, the Constitutional Court of South Africa ruled that the Marriage Act 25 of 1961 and the Divorce Act 70 of 1979 were unconstitutional for excluding marriages under Sharia law. The Supreme Court held that the non-recognition of Muslim marriages violated the constitutional rights of Muslim women and children. The case, Women's Legal Center Trust versus the President and others, concerned a challenge to the constitutionality of the two acts. The lawsuit alleged inconsistencies with sections of the South African Constitution involving equality, human dignity, child rights, and access to courts. The Women's Legal Center petitioned the Constitutional Court to affirm and confirm the Supreme Court of Appeals ruling. Palestinian resistance group Hamas has agreed to allow an Israeli national to enter the Gaza Strip. The move aims to restore communications regarding a prisoner swap deal with Israel, Israeli media said on Wednesday. Gazan activist Sami Obeid and Yoel Marshak, head of Kibbutz movement, are seeking a resolution of the issue of prisoners and missing persons between Hamas and Israel. Since 2018, Hamas has rejected the initiative, the Israeli Broadcasting Corporation reported. Hamas, which rules the Gaza Strip, is believed to hold 4 Israelis, 2 of whom are captured after the 2014 Israeli offensive on the seaside territory. 2 other Israelis are believed to have been held after they entered Gaza under unclear circumstances. Hamas hopes to swap the Israeli captives for many of the 4,800 Palestinians languishing in Israeli prisons. Hundreds of religious leaders and influential people have been summoned to the Afghan capital Kabul to attend a 3-day Grand Council in support of Taliban rule. Officials are providing scant details of the men-only meeting starting Wednesday. The gathering comes after a powerful earthquake struck the east of the country on June 22nd, killing more than 1,000 people and leaving tens of thousands homeless. A Taliban source told AFP criticism of the regime would be allowed and thorny issues such as girls' education would be discussed. A Taliban source also said that the meeting will seek views of scholars on the performance of the Islamic Emirate. Participants will be allowed to criticize and even make complaints, the group said. Russian Defense Ministry says its forces have withdrawn from Ukraine's Snake Island. The announcement was hailed by the Ukrainian army as a victory. Snake Island is a tiny but strategically located Ukrainian islet in the Black Sea. It was taken by Russia in the opening stages of its war with Ukraine, which began February 24th. Russian armed forces completed their mission on Snake Island and withdrew a garrison stationed there on June 30th, the ministry said. It also said that the withdrawal seeks to demonstrate that Russia is not impeding UN efforts to establish a humanitarian corridor to ship agricultural products from Ukraine. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
Sound Vision has a summer plan for your kids. Keep them busy and having fun. With creative teaching methods, songs, stories, art projects, and more. Amazing teachers and role models. Lessons that build love for Allah. Positive identity as a Muslim. Summer fun has just begun. Learn about animals in the Quran. Arabic vocabulary. Beautiful names of Allah. Science in the Quran. Visit distant Muslim lands. Learn fun facts about the country, the people, and how to cook special dishes, all from the safety and convenience of your home. Visit academy.adamsworld.org for more details. Hurry, classes start on July 4th.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes.
Mr. Speaker, if I decide to wear a turban, or you decide to wear a cross, or he decides to wear a kippah or a skull cap, or she decides to wear a hijab or a burqa, does that mean that it is open season for right honourable members of this House to make derogatory and divisive remarks about our appearance? For those of us who from a young age have had to endure and face up to being called names such as Towelhead or Taliban or coming from Bongo land, we can appreciate full well the hurt and pain felt by already vulnerable Muslim women when they are described as looking like bank robbers and letterboxes. So rather than hide behind sham and whitewash investigations, when will the Prime Minister finally apologise for his derogatory and racist remarks? Racist remarks, Mr. Speaker, which have led to a spike in hate crime. And given the increasing prevalence of such incidents within his party, when will the Prime Minister finally order an inquiry into Islamophobia within the Conservative Party, something which he and his Chancellor promised on national television?
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
To discuss the migrant deaths in San Antonio and the issue of human trafficking, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Hena. 53 people, children included, suffocated in San Antonio on the tractor trailer. They didn't have to die like that. In a heated place, probably up to 150, 170 degrees inside, no water. Is this the result of our immigration policies? People are wondering, President Biden is calling a horrific event, but what can be done about it? We have with us Ernesto Castanera, who's assistant professor at the American University, Washington, D.C., and director of Immigration Lab to discuss this with us. Welcome to Muslim Network TV.
Thank you very much, Imam.
Tell us, the death of 53 people have put a new spotlight on the immigration issue. Could you help us understand why a tragedy like this happens?
Sure, and it is correct to call it a tragedy. It is a tragedy because it was to be expected. It's something that has happened in the past many times. It's something that we could have predicted. Actually, I predict that it will happen again this summer. We also saw it happening recently in southern Mexico. We saw recent incidents of deaths at the border between Melilla, Spain, and northern Morocco in the northern part of Africa. So this is the result of immigration policies that try to restrict any person trying to come through land borders without a visa. This was made worse by the pandemic, where for good public health reasons, a lot of the borders were further closed, even to border residents. And the case here, even now, asylum seekers could not enter the country while they waited for the courts to present and make their evidence and to make their case of why they were looking for asylum. Remain in Mexico, which the Supreme Court today says that Biden can try to end this within their jurisdiction. And Title 42, which is related to public health, made it hard for people escaping political persecution and violence in Central America and other countries to ask for asylum. So a lot of migrants have been waiting for over a year in terrible conditions in northern Mexico to try to come and present their asylum cases. So some of them have gotten desperate and have again tried to look for the desert and to smuggling options like this trailer truck. And the result is that a lot of lives are lost unnecessarily.
Professor Castanero, the Supreme Court's decision today, do you think that is going to help this situation?
Not really, not in the short term, but it's, we could say, a step in the right direction. Because once the Biden administration ends the Remain in Mexico program started by Trump, and once Title 42 is lifted, because when the pandemic fully comes under control. Then asylum seekers with documents that have suffered horrible suffering at the hands of organized crime or political forces or corrupt policies in their countries will be able to ask for asylum. But we're talking here about a very small portion of immigrants escaping poverty and dictatorship in Cuba, Venezuela, and many other countries, and they won't benefit from the end of Title 42 or remain in Mexico because they were not subject to. So what this tragedy in San Antonio reminds us is that the Congress has to get back to work on a comprehensive bipartisan immigration reform to regularize people who are already in the U.S., to allow families to reunify through an orderly process, coming through airplanes with visas, and to increase the number of guest workers that our economy so much needs right now.
Texas Governor Abbott says that it's a border security issue. Do you agree with that?
No. Governor Abbott is wrong in a lot of issues, particularly when it comes to immigration. The U.S.-Mexico border on the U.S. side, it's very safe. Actually, some of the Texas cities along the border, like El Paso, Texas, there's a lot of data, studies by myself and statistics from the FBI and many others, show that these American border cities are amongst the safest in the U.S. for the most part. They are, for example, safer than, in terms of homicide rates, they are safer than Washington, D.C. or New York City. And whenever we have massive deaths, they are because of domestic terrorists, like we saw in El Paso, with somebody trying to kill Mexicans, or in Uvalde, school shootings. That's when, that's the few incidents when border cities are unsafe. But for the most part, immigrants don't come with guns. Immigrants don't try to kill people on their way. They're trying to get to their parents, to their children, to their family members in the U.S. and try to get a job or to study. They are not making the border unsafe. So to speak about border security, it's a laggard that we still have from 9/11, when people thought that protecting the national borders would be a way to fend terrorism, but that was overblown, unnecessary, and useless, I would say. But it has resulted in the deaths of a lot of innocent civilians, including children.
You know, I'll read to you one of the argument, which seems to be in line with Texas governor is saying, is secure border saves lives. When less people come across, less people are going to die. That's the logic there. What is illogical about that statement?
Well, that's the goal. There's some restriction groups, many of them, unfortunately, linked to white supremacy movements that don't want the racial composition of the U.S. to change. They want to keep it Christian and white. So those are the people that have for a long time put a lot of money to close the border and reduce immigration. And they're winning. They were in power during the Trump administration, and the Biden administration hasn't been able to pull back a lot of these measures. But taking a step back, let's remember that only 3.5% of the world population, more or less, according to the United Nations, lives in a country different from where they are born. In other words, as Kamala Harris correctly said when she was visiting Central America, most people do not want to leave their homes. Most people want to stay with their parents, with the children, with their grandparents, in the city that they were born, if they can afford it. But we see large movements on people when there's, for example, a foreign invasion, as we see right now with Ukraine, with the Russian invasion. People have been leaving Ukraine to try to save their lives. Nobody is criticizing them, rightly so. Also, people after the takeover of the Taliban, some people that were working with the U.S. government have been given welcoming in the U.S. from Afghanistan, and that is to their benefit, so they can continue their style of life, and they're going to contribute a lot to the United States. So it's the same with the people that found on the border. Is actually not that many people. Remaining Mexico so far had deported 70,000 people to Mexico, with the idea that many of them would be little by little led to coming to the U.S. to present their asylum cases, as some of them would stay. Now, remember, a lot of people that come to the US and apply for asylum, most of them are rejected, and they are sent back through airplanes. They are deported back to their countries. So we're talking about tens of thousands of people at a time when we lost over 1 million Americans due to COVID, at a time when unemployment is around 3%, and we're talking about a US population of over 330, 350 million people. This is really a drop in the bucket. They're not coming to anybody's house. They're coming to a country that has for centuries received people from all over the world. So it's not about immigrants not coming. It's about letting immigrants come and trying to find a job and trying to have contribute to the economy. If they're committing crimes, they can be put in prison or deported. So it's not an issue about border security. They're trying to militarize our borders. That's what causes deaths. And we also see the same case with the Mediterranean in Europe and in other countries. So having a migration that is more open and that gives more visas, asylum more easily, refuge more easily, is a better way to handle. We have done that very well with Ukrainians and Afghans in the last year. So it's not impossible.
Professor Castanero, I remember being in the White House in 2008 with President Obama's in office, and that was his top priority. What is happening to this comprehensive immigration reform? I mean, there seems to be just pass on to next president, to next president, to next president. Do you see any hope that this tragedy will help bring this issue so much in focus that somebody will make a serious effort to resolve it?
I really hope so. And the recent bipartisan agreement on gun control gives us some hope that people can come together to do something about this. There is a consensus that the immigration system as it is right now, it's broken. People have been saying that for a long time. Independents, Republicans, Democrats. Public opinion shows that over 70% of the US population is in favor of amnesty, in favor of giving citizenship to DACA recipients, of creating a better and more humane and more rational immigration system. Unfortunately, it's been a couple of senators and the Republicans in Congress that have been blocking year after year after year. Even when Bush was in office and he was trying to do an immigration reform, they are afraid that if they vote for more pro-immigrant policies, that they're going to be made to pay by their voters. But that has not been the case, actually. If you look back, people that have taken pro-immigrant stance actually have not paid the price. The Muslim ban was finally rescinded. Nobody's angry with Biden for that. The border wall construction is stopped. Beyond the core base of the Trump candidacy, nobody else is upset about that. So there's a lot of that can be done, that there's agreement in American society. So we have to have the political will and pressure Congress so that they come with a bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform that is proactive, that brings paths to citizenship, safe guest worker programs, and not more money for the Border Patrol, no more money for fences. That money is wasted money that is not working to, and it's not deterring immigrants from coming. It's just casting some of them to die on the way.
Thank you so much, Professor Castanera, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Hena.
Thank you so much, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. We wanted to wish all of our viewers a happy 1st of Dhul Hijjah. Assalamu alaikum and good night.